Maruti Suzuki Vitara Brezza, ever since its launch, has been a great success for the company. So much so, it is right now the highest selling compact SUV in the country, and there is no other vehicle that really has put up any sort of a challenge wherein Maruti should worry. But finally now we have a competitor that might just worry the Brezza a bit. And the new competitor is the new EcoSport. The Ford EcoSport is the vehicle which really kick-started the compact SUV segment. It grew old, it did not get a facelift in time, and that was the reason why sales went down. There were competitors with newer vehicles, but finally, although a little late, Ford has come up with the new EcoSport, and it comes back with a lot of new features. So we are going to put the EcoSport and the Brezza both in their diesel forms head to head, and we'll tell you which one is the vehicle that you should buy. Now, talking about the design of the new EcoSport, well, the place where you'll find most of the changes are at the front. As you can see, now this one comes with a wider chrome laden grille. The overall bumper design too has been sharpened up from the older model, and you see much sharper fog lamps here as well. LED DRLs have been added to the headlamp cluster, which is something that even the Brezza gets, but this one looks a little more sharper. If you talk about the headlamp throw of the light, well, both of them have got projector units, but the EcoSport's headlamps at the night give a little better visibility if you compare it to the Vitara Brezza. Now, when you talk about the design of the Vitara Brezza, well, it's a very different approach from what you see on the EcoSport. While the EcoSport is more of a sleek, compact vehicle which is somewhere between the lines of an SUV and a crossover, the Brezza looks much boxy and looks like a big SUV shrunk down to a smaller size. At the front, you've got these sleek headlamps with LED DRLs, and you've got a thick chrome slat on a narrow grille. The bumper, again, it's got a lot of creases, and it's all there to give the Brezza a boxy and a SUV stance. Now, while the front of the new EcoSport is a lot different, you wouldn't find much changes on the side or the rear. The only notable change on the side is these new alloy wheels. They come draped in 205 by 50 section on 17-inch wheels if you go in for the top variant. It looks good. The low profile section gives the EcoSport a lot of dynamism in its overall design. At the rear, you still have the same design. You've got the spare wheel mounted on the door, which is a trademark design for the EcoSport, and it's a good thing that Ford has retained that. Now, inside the Brezza, what you get in the center console is a touchscreen. It's a touchscreen infotainment system that gives you access to your all connectivity options like Bluetooth, aux-in, USB, Apple CarPlay. It's also got inbuilt navigation data. You've got a digital instrument cluster with analog tachometer and speedometer. Again, the cluster gives you all necessary information. On the steering wheel, you have the cruise control and the audio and telephone buttons. So that way is again sorted. It's a nice steering wheel to hold. In terms of material quality and build quality, well, again, the Brezza scores fine. It's got this hard plastic all around, which is similar to what you'll find on the EcoSport as well. So not much of a differentiation, just that the one in the EcoSport just feels a little more solid. And in terms of utility space, again, the Brezza scores well. Just below the climate control, you have a space where you can easily store away your wallet, your smartphone. You also have some storage compartments for bottles here. The door pockets, again, are large enough to easily accommodate your 1 liter bottles, and there's enough space for other small knickknacks as well. Now, talking about comfort, well, the seats in the Brezza, they're good. They offer good support. Overall, good comfort. And if you talk about visibility, this is one strong point of the Vitara Brezza. It gives great visibility for the driver. If you talk about front visibility, side visibility, the rear visibility, it's perfect. The seating position is upright, so you get a very good view. So from that perspective, yes, it is very good. You can drive it well, you can maneuver it easily. It's easy to reverse park, and it also comes with reverse parking camera. So it just adds to the ease of driving. One small Yet interesting feature about the Brezza is this cool glove box it gets. So when you're going out on long drives, you can easily place in a couple of drinks here. Your beverages can remain cool for a longer duration. And that is something the EcoSport misses out on. Now once inside the cabin of the new EcoSport, the first thing that grabs your attention is this new 8-inch floating touchscreen for the infotainment system. The infotainment system, by the way, comes loaded with the latest Ford Sync 3. The screen itself is a brilliant piece. The touch response is pretty much close to what you would get on a smartphone, so it's really fluid. Moving from one point to the other is very easy. There is hardly any lag in the screen. The display again is very good. It comes with good connectivity options. Similar to the Brezza, you've got all of it. You've got Bluetooth, aux, USB, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. The one differentiating factor is where the Brezza comes in with inbuilt navigation through a memory card. This one does not come with inbuilt navigation, so you will have to stream navigation through your Android Auto or Apple CarPlay onto the screen. Now talking about the steering wheel, well, this new steering wheel feels chunky to hold. It's a good steering wheel. It has all the controls right from your cruise control, audio, your telephone control. The instrument cluster, again, it's a new one when you compare it to the older EcoSport, and you get again a combination of analog and digital display. You get access to all information that you need, but which is similar to what you get on the Brezza. But the addition here is that you also get access to TPMS, which is tire pressure monitoring system. So you can, on the go, all the time, have information as to how much air is there in the tires. The display, however, itself, the design is not as pleasing as what you would find in the Brezza. It is a little too basic, too simple, even when you compare it to the older EcoSport. In terms of seats, well, this is one area where Ford has made changes based on feedback from Indian consumers. So now you have seats which are wider, have better support, the cushioning too is better, and if you're someone who has driven the older EcoSport, you will instantly find out that these are much more comfortable seats. The side support especially is very good. In terms of utility, well, there's not much that differentiates both cars. In the EcoSport 2, you have ample storage points. You can easily place your smartphone, your wallet here. The door pockets, again, they'll easily hold your 1 liter bottles, and there's space still for more small knickknacks. You've got some space here again, and you also have this center armrest, which again has a cavity to put in some more stuff. So in a front interior comparison perspective, in terms of infotainment, in terms of design, the EcoSport is ahead. The Brezza wins it back in terms of the instrument cluster design. It also has a cool glove box, so they're pretty evenly matched. So now we're in the rear seat of the Vitara Brezza, and well, let's talk about space first. Now I've got the driver's seat adjusted to my driving preference, 171 centimeters for reference. Now you can see there's a lot of leg room, no problem at all. There's a lot of space underneath the front seat to slide my legs in. If I talk about headroom, again, no problem whatsoever. So even someone as tall as maybe 5 feet 10 inches or maybe even 6 feet will not have a problem with the headroom at all. The seats themselves, well, they're quite comfortable. They offer good support. The backrest incline angle is good. So if you're going to be here for a long duration on a long journey, well, you'll not be really uncomfortable. You've got this comfortable leather padded armrest too. You can place in a couple of beverages here. The door pockets again are large enough to hold your 1 liter water bottles. Overall, the airy feeling of the Brezza is what sets it apart from a lot of competitors in its segment. Since space is going to be an important factor for a lot of buyers in this segment, so what I'm doing right now is I've pushed the driver's seat all the way back, and you can see that I still have a few inches, I would say probably 4 finger lengths, still between my knees and the front seat. And we'll do the same in the EcoSport, and that will give you a perspective of how much leg room actually is on offer. Now once inside the rear seat of the new EcoSport, well, it's instantly visible that if you talk about leg room, it's not as much as what you would find in the Brezza. The same thing, driver seat adjusted to my driving preference, and you can see I've got enough leg room right now, but if I were to have a taller driver sitting up front, the leg room could be an issue. Headroom, however, is no problem, easy here. In terms of the seat, well, the seat itself is very comfortable. The under thigh support on this is a little better than what you get in the Brezza. Again, an armrest, a leather padded armrest here. The armrest on the Brezza though is a little wider and a little more comfortable when you've got occupants on both ends. In terms of utility too, the EcoSport cabin delivers well in the rear seat. You've got these seat pockets for putting in the papers. The door pockets are just about enough to hold the 1 liter bottles. However, accessing them can be a bit of a problem, because if you have a bottle here, you cannot take it out on the go in most cases. You'll have to open the door to take out a bottle or put it in, which, unlike the Brezza, is a bit of inconvenience. Now, with the driver's seat in the EcoSport pushed all the way back, just like we did in the Brezza, well, you can see the amount of legroom I have is pretty much nil. My knees are already brushing against the driver's seat, whereas in the Brezza I had about 4 finger width of space left. So that just shows that the Brezza has much more rear leg room, and although the EcoSport has a much better cabin in terms of connectivity, in terms of overall features at the front, if rear space is a prerogative for you, then the Brezza wins hands down. Now, boot space is another important factor for most buyers in this segment, and if we talk about the Brezza, well, what you get is a decent amount of boot space at about 328 liters. It offers good storage space. The only problem is that the loading lip is a bit high, so if you have really heavy bags, you'll have to make an effort to really push them here. But once in, it's been designed well, so you can put in a lot of luggage here. Now, talking about the boot space of the EcoSport, well, the first difference you would notice is the way the tailgate opens. Instead of the vertically lifting tailgate on the Brezza, this one retains the same mechanism that we have seen on the older EcoSport. From the older EcoSport, this one gets an increment of about 30 liters in volume, which puts it at 346 liters, which is slightly higher than what you get on the Brezza. And the loading lip point too is lower, so lifting those heavy bags and placing them is a little bit easier. Now let's talk about the performance of these two cars, and we'll start off with the Brezza first. Now the Brezza comes with a 1.3 litre DDIS 200 engine, which develops a healthy 89 horsepower and 200 Newton meters of torque. This engine is paired to a 5-speed manual transmission with sorted gear ratios, and the engine, in terms of performance, it does have some turbo lag. So once you are past about 1500 RPM, that's when you get a constant surge of acceleration. But that also means that when you're stuck in traffic, in stop-go traffic, you do have to make few more gear changes than you would need to do in the EcoSport. The acceleration is decent. Even at highway speeds, you can easily overtake the long trailers, so that shouldn't be a problem. And if I have to talk about ride and handling, well, ride quality of the Brezza is a strong point for it. It filters out most of the undulations that you would expect on normal Indian roads, and even if you're going fast on highway, the straight line stability is not compromised at all. So what you get is a good balance between ride and handling. So once you get behind the wheel of the new EcoSport, especially the diesel one that we are putting through in the comparison today, well, it's easily clear that this engine is a lot more eager to go than the Vitara Brezza's engine. In terms of power, well, this is a 1.5 litre engine. It develops about 100 horsepower and 205 Newton meters of torque. And this one again is paired to a 5-speed manual transmission. So the setup is very similar to what you find on the Brezza, but this engine has a little more power, and the overall turbo lag that you find on the Brezza is not here. This has got minimal turbo lag. So right from the word go, you get more response from the throttle. The engine just wants to go ahead, and you get better acceleration in the low end. Coming to ride and handling, well, the new EcoSport has been softened up a bit when you compare it to the older one. And that's a good thing, because now the ride quality has improved. It's not as harsh as it was on the old model. So when you're driving around city at low speeds, the ride quality is a little less jumpy, and the occupants will feel to be a little more comfortable now. At high speeds, the car shines. The stability is impressive, and even if you're going around corners at hard speed, the EcoSport delivers very well. And if you're someone who likes to drive, I've said this earlier in my review as well, as of now, the EcoSport is the best handling car in the compact SUV space. In terms of engine sound or NVH levels, well, both diesel engines are audible inside the cabin. Outside, when you listen to them, the diesel clatter is again clearly audible. And once you are cruising at a set speed, both of them settle down to a much more acceptable level. However, that said, the engine of the EcoSport just feels a wee bit more smoother than that of the Brezza. On the safety front, well, the Brezza offers dual airbags at the front and ABS with EBD as standard, but that's about it, because in the EcoSport what you can opt for is additional 4 airbags, so you can get 6 airbags, and you also have traction control. So in terms of safety, well, the EcoSport is ahead of the Vitara Brezza. Talking about fuel efficiency, well, we've been driving this for the last 3 days, and the EcoSport has delivered 16.8 kilometers to a litre of diesel, which is slightly less than the 17.3 that you saw on the Vitara Brezza. And the run for this again has been in similar conditions, and mostly in rush hour traffic, morning and evening. So we've come to the end of comparing the new Ford EcoSport with the reigning champion, the Maruti Suzuki Vitara Brezza, and it has been a very closely fought battle. Both cars offer a very different experience when it comes to visual perception, your cabin experience, your driving experience. They're quite different, and that's the parameter that sets them apart. But at the end of the day, which one you should buy is what we are going to tell you. So let's talk about the strong points of the new Ford EcoSport first. Well, the areas where it delivers a lot better is definitely the driving part. So it feels a little better to drive than the Brezza. It's got a little more punch in the engine, and in terms of safety too, it's better equipped with 6 airbags and traction control. Add to it a slightly smarter touchscreen, and what you get is a more zesty cabin in the new EcoSport. Now, if you talk about the Brezza, well, the Brezza does claw back some advantage for itself in the form of better space at the rear, which is a sore point for the new EcoSport. Along with that, the visibility that you get from the Brezza is much better than what you get in the EcoSport. So if you put all that into perspective, well, what you get are two vehicles with different propositions altogether. But the biggest thing to consider is the price, and when you talk about that, the top end variants of both these vehicles are set apart by almost ₹1,00,000, and the EcoSport is obviously the more expensive one, and of course you do get more kit for it. But if you talk about value for money, the Brezza is still a strong proposition. So if you're willing to pay that extra amount of money and want better connectivity, better safety, better driving dynamics, the EcoSport is the vehicle to go for, and is the winner of this shootout, but only by a slight margin. And do keep in mind that if you are someone who really needs that space at the rear seat, the Brezza is still your best pick in this segment. If you like this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel as well. And do not forget to share it. For anything else from the world of wheels, please log on to www.expressdrives.com. Till the next time we meet up again, please wear your seat belts and obey all traffic rules, and always wear a helmet when riding a two-wheeler.